Okay, well, welcome back, friends. We're about to go live. Thank you as always for being here, and we're back. So it's been a tough week for Big Pharma, hasn't it? As you by now know, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, has tested positive for the very thing that he's been vaccinated against on 4 separate occasions. And then also this week in the Journal of Molecular Psychiatry, there was an article that emerged suggesting that the serotonin hypothesis of depression is actually not really supported by large data. And so we're going to actually look at the history of depression. I myself and many of you have experienced depressive states before. Many of you have been prescribed or recommended a SSRI, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, by your healthcare practitioner, because way back in the 1960s, there was this hypothesis that, you know what, there's this chemical imbalance in people with depression and depression type states. And so therefore, if we can give people a enzyme reuptake inhibitor, that we can improve improve the affect, improve their mood. And this created a burgeoning marketplace for various SNRIs, selective norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, and then the SSRIs, the relative serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and so forth. And this has been a billion, probably at this point, $1 trillion market. And there's online surveys. If you're feeling depressed or anxious, I had a family member who was going through some hard things and was forwarded some sort of survey on Instagram by a group of psychiatrists who gave him a 15-minute consult and prescribed him 2 different SNRIs and SSRIs after talking to him for 15 minutes, and prescribed him these drugs. And he says, well, I don't think I have a drug deficiency. I think there's some sort of underlying issue that is causing me to be depressed, and I'm not really sure what that is, and I want to talk to someone about it, get to the root cause, and they didn't know what to offer him. And so he was very disappointed. So the point is, this is going on. This is rampant, where people are going to practitioners' offices. They're not getting addressing the root cause behind their mental health woes. They're prescribed and recommended to take these compounds that have a litany of side effects, including but not limited to erectile dysfunction, sexual dysfunction, heart issues, diabetes, weight gain. And it turns out, based upon this new data, that the serotonin hypothesis linked with depression is not really validated by strong science. And so that's where we're going today. We're going to dive into it, friends. Thank you as always for being here. And always, I want to thank our show sponsor, Good Idea. This is an amazing drink that can help you curb cravings. It can help you support cardiometabolic health in the post-exercise and post-meal window. This is essentially a branched-chain amino acid drink that also features compounds like chromium to help support metabolic health. And so I'm going to drink some of this as we get going here, friends. If you're wanting to socialize this summer, you're going to a barbecue, going to a cookout, and you don't want to drink alcohol, bring a Good Idea with you, my friends, because you have the branched-chain amino acids, you have healthy minerals like chromium and so forth to help support blood sugar health. So we're going to continue on and talk about this new data. I think this is, well, first of all, it's not new. And by the way, I'll put links below to goodidea.us where you can learn a little bit more about this. Check it out. An amazing product, especially during the summer months where you don't want to drink alcohol. So there's a book recommendation that I'm going to share with you on the screen here, okay? This book, Lost Connections, okay? This is something we've talked about a lot on the show before. You have Jonah Hari is the author. A great book. And in the first couple chapters of the book, he talks about how pharma companies, one of the big companies that starts with a P, you've heard a lot about over the past 18 months, how they recruit people for their SSRI drug trials. They recruit people who are depressed, who are having they're not in a good place in their life. They pick them up in these swanky buses and feed them healthy food, and they're part of the intervention group. And so, of course, if you're feeling kind of depressed and lethargic, and then this company picks you up in these swanky buses, and then you're going to get studied, guess what? You start to feel better. You start to feel better than the control group, who is not being picked up in these swanky buses and who's just at home, not necessarily part of the intervention group. So he gets into the details, and I really think, because this is going to be major news for a long time, because, again, for years now, people have been prescribed these drugs. And as we're going to talk about, break down the results of this new analysis, the data doesn't really support this sort of myopic model that that depression can be fixed by just tweaking serotonin levels in the brain. There's so much more to depression. Anyone who's experienced depression before, there's social connections, there's meaning, there's purpose, there's sense of accomplishment, there's nutritional factors. Like, there's 100 million reasons why people can feel depressed and anxious and suicidal and so forth. And just to be so naive to think that you can give someone a pill that can modulate one of many neurotransmitters in the brain and that will solve the problem, it's really short-sighted. So I think it's important that we talk more about this and we talk about what this study found. So what I'm going to do here as we're continuing on, friends, and as always, if you're enjoying this live content, let me know, hit that like button. Let me know what you think in the comment section below or in the chat bar. Have you been prescribed an SSRI? And if so, did you take it? And I'll share with you my experience when I got depressed in college because I was overtraining. My academics were sliding, so I felt like I didn't have meaning, I didn't have purpose anymore. So I actually went to the nurse at the college that I was going to, Western Washington University. She says, oh, this is so common for people in their senior year and so forth. The expectations, the pressure to feel depressed. I have the solution for you, Mike. It's called an SSRI. I'm like, oh, I happen to be in a college class, a 400 level class, pharmacology of drug action. Was that what it's called? Or I think it was just called drug action, pharmacology, something to that effect. And I was learning about nicotine and adenosine and caffeine and SSRIs. And so I was intrigued by this notion that, wow, I can take this substance that will augment, neurotransmitter synthesis in my brain. And so therefore that would cure me of my depression. But then I started to think about it. Well, gosh, I actually know inside that the reason why I'm depressed is not because of one chemical imbalance. I know that I was lonely, that I had retracted and sort of become a recluse from my friends because of wanting to excel in school. And I knew that was the problem. So I was like, well, I don't think this is the solution, just taking this pill. So I started to do more research and figure out that, wow, people need social connections. People need healthier food. I got off this soy protein that I was having a lot of. I started eating more real foods, started having omega-3 fish oil, started eating blueberries, started cutting out grains. And guess what? I didn't have depression anymore. I cured my depression, shall we say, without any of these medications. And ever since that point, I've been, making videos like these, working with people to help them achieve the same health improvements naturally. So to think that we can deduce health down to these little one target biochemical pathways when they're so multifactorial, I think is, again, is myopic thinking. Okay. So let's review some of the data. We like data. Here is the study right here. Or here's a review of this. This was in The Guardian. Okay, little evidence that chemical imbalance causes depression, UCL scientists say. So scientists have called into question the widespread use of antidepressants after a major review found no clear evidence that low serotonin levels are responsible for depression. Prescription medications have risen dramatically since the 1990s, with 1 in 6 adults and 2% of teenagers in England now being prescribed them. Now, the numbers are much higher in the U.S., and in fact, it also is. There's a regional difference here. So in the Seattle area, it's about 27% of adults are on antidepressants. This is insane. More than 1 in 4 people. Okay. So many people have been taking antidepressants because they have been led to believe their depression is a biochemical issue. But this new research suggests belief is not grounded in evidence, said the study's lead author, Jonah Moncrieff, a professor of psychiatry at University College London and consultant psychiatrist at North East London NHS Foundation Trust. All right. It was always difficult to prove a negative, but I think we can safely say that after a vast amount of research conducted over the last several decades, there is no convincing evidence that depression is caused by serotonin abnormalities, particularly by lower levels or reduced activity of serotonin. Thousands of people suffer from side effects of antidepressants, including severe withdrawal that can occur when people stop them, yet prescription rates continue to rise. We believe the situation has been partly driven by the false belief that depression is due to a chemical imbalance. It is time to inform the public that this belief is not grounded in science. All right. Strong words from The Guardian. Okay. Now, I would love to see what the New York Times says about this because, as you know, our domestic media has been very supportive of pharmacological agents and very dismissive of natural remedies and natural compounds. You often see pieces from the New York Times promoting certain things, but often dismissing things like vitamin D and issuing sort of a hesitancy against using multivitamins and natural products because, of course, you know, the experts say those don't have any research to support their effects. But isn't it funny that articles and journalists in the UK are the ones that are being a little bit more critical, a little bit less concerned about going against the common narrative when it comes to pharmacologic agents, not just antidepressants, but other compounds. Now, we've seen this story play out over and over again, have we not? We've seen this with lipid-lowering medications. We've seen this with statins. The number needed to treat with the statin in order to prevent one adverse outcome is something like 100 to 1 or something insane, right? We are now seeing these so-called breakthrough cases happening all the time. Now we see this going on with antidepressants, right? So look, friends, when we ignore our underlying health, when we ignore our social relationships, when we don't have meaning and purpose in life, and we don't exercise, and we don't take care of our bodies, and we don't sleep, and we feel depressed, is it really realistic to think that we can solve that depression by just giving someone something that will temporarily increase the activity of an enzyme or decrease the activity of an enzyme and therefore cause them to suddenly not have these feelings of depression, malaise, and loneliness? It's myopic. So this, again, it's not to say that there's not a time and a place for pharmacology. Look, I understand when people feel depressed and they go to the doctor, most doctors want to help their patients feel better. And if there's just a small percentage of hope that this antidepressant will help Sally from, you know, jumping off a bridge, then of course the doctor's going to give that patient the medication. But as Jonah Hari talks about in this book, we also need to focus on the root cause as to why there's rampant mental health issues in this country and throughout the world. In this country, we have people that are addicted to screens. We have people who are completely social isolated, especially now due to social distancing measures and safety mitigation strategies designed to prevent and flatten the curve and slow the spread and so on. But you have people that are working from home, that are on screens, that are not seeing nature, they're stuck indoors, they have circadian rhythm disruption, they're eating processed junk food, blood sugar dysregulation goes through the roof. I mean, come on, we have to address the root cause of the problem. And social connection is a big piece of that dysfunction. And that's why I've been openly critical for the past, in January of 2020, before lockdowns even started, I said, staying home is completely useless. This is never going away, this bug. We need social connections in order to feel good. When you feel depressed, you weaken your immune system. And then are we surprised that we saw a massive amount of death and hospitalizations? Especially amongst the elderly who were already socially isolated and depressed before. So, guys, we got to think more holistically here. And this, you know, having this data is helpful for us to go, you're right. It was silly to think that we can cure all depression by just, you know, tweaking serotonin levels or norepinephrine levels. There's more chemicals in the brain, and this is a symphony. This is not just one sort of neurotransmitter imbalance. Okay. Well, I've been rambling here. So what I would like to do is let's get to some of your live questions here. So I'm going to pop out the chat and see if we can just address some live questions here. As always, friends, thank you for being here live. Thank you for that like button. Really, really appreciate you all being here live with us, which is fantastic. Jim says, very interesting. Just taking my boy off serotonin due to sudden bipolar effects. He is a different person now. Jim, hats off to you for addressing the root cause. California Bud Review says Big Harma. Yeah, interesting. I like that. Okay. I'm seeing some people refer to me as a doctor. I'm not a doctor, just to clarify, just to be totally honest with y'all. Honesty is the best policy, not a doctor, although I do read peer-reviewed research and stuff like that. I'm not a physician or anything like that. Ellen Hunt says, surprised the Guardian let that run. Yeah, well, the Guardian, yeah, they've been pretty good, I want to say, over the past year. Okay. Anne says, my mother tried Wellbutrin because she was feeling down for a few months. On week 2, she stopped immediately after having thoughts of suicide. Wow. Wild stuff. Anne, I'm glad you shared that. These things have a lot of side effects for sure. What's the book that I just held up? Yeah, we talked about it at the beginning. Lost Connections by Yona Hari. Really, really good stuff about depression, disconnecting from life and how these studies with pharmaceuticals are conducted. It's a phenomenal book. All right. Any metabolic health questions and things like that as we're going here, just let me know. Richard Miller, what's going on, Richard? Thank you for being here. Richard says, greetings from Texas. He did a cold plunge and sauna for depression. Yes, yes. Shifting your state of mind with heat, with exercise, with breath, with cold is amazing for depression and mental health issues. You know, like I said, I've struggled periodically off and on over the years with mental health stuff. You know, just feeling down, like just whatever, and phase shifting, getting out of the rut. Because here's the thing is, you know, with depression, if you start to feel those feelings of depression, then you get anxiety about, oh my gosh, depression is coming on. I think I'm depressed. And then you start to lose your memory and you start to lose your mind, you know, and then it becomes awkward socializing with people. And then you start to lose your social connection. So it's very important to have these phase shift interruptions and to not tell yourself and to, you know, repeat these self-fulfilling prophecies like, say, I'm depressed, I'm anxious. Just say, you know, I was feeling a little off, but I shifted. I had a phase shift by going into the sauna or taking a hot bath or doing some meditation or some intense exercise. Dennis, thank you for the super chat. I really, really appreciate that. Marco is saying SSRIs have worked, but there surely has to be a better alternative. Yeah, for sure. Sunflower Heather says, to stop psych meds, always taper off them. Yes, tapering is good. Good question there. Sunny Girl says, how do we change the culture where people want meds rather than looking at the obvious lifestyle issues? Well, yeah, you know, this is a mindset thing. I'm not sure exactly how to do that, and I'm getting dark, really, really dark here. It looks like my camera is having a hard time finding me. Just give me 1 second, guys. I'm still here. I just have to drop one thing. All right. There we go. We're back. It was super bright, and then it got dark on me there. Okay. Yeah, how do we convince society that we should address the root cause? I don't know. I've been trying to do that on a large scale for a long time. I'm not sure how we convince people that we should address the root cause as opposed to always putting Band-Aids on problems. I don't know. I wish I knew. We need to convince people to just change one habit at a time and to be consistent. And I don't know how to do that. It's a good question. Okay. Why do so many people get prescribed SSRIs, swear by them? Yeah, a lot of this is placebo effect. If you look at the studies that Jonah talks about, and as these people have talked about, you know, the placebo effect is very strong. Just going to the doctor and checking in and having a nurse touch you and run your blood pressure and this, you're going to feel better by just doing that. You're going to feel better than just sitting at home on the couch or watching Netflix, right? So just doing that alone is going to help you feel better. Then you have this hope, this promise, and maybe the doctor will share with you stories and so forth. And then, yeah, so a lot of this is placebo. John says, there's a place for pharmaceuticals when people are in such a place that they can't function in society. SSRIs can be helpful on a short term as needed basis. I know, John, but again, as this major analysis found, again, this was in the article in the journal Molecular Psychiatry, looking at hundreds of studies there's no confirmation that SSRIs and depression is correlated. Some studies show high serotonin in depression, other studies show low. So the idea that depression can be fixed by augmenting serotonin levels specifically is not supported by the evidence in terms of a lot of people. So, okay. All right. Someone is saying here, Wirehead says, I was taking Celexa for 8 years and I quit when my thoughts got very black. Yeah, it's a good idea to change your medication when you have a side effect. A side effect of that would be having negative thoughts. Taking another swig here of the Good Idea. Again, this is a carbonated drink that features branched-chain amino acids and chromium. It's an awesome product that you can bring to your next cookout or barbecue. It is alcohol-free. It's carbonated. It tastes great. Okay. Okay, LVC says, what are the alternatives? Hugging people. Okay, when you hug your partner, hug a friend, you're going to increase oxytocin. You're going to feel better. Getting outside, exercising, getting to sleep on time, getting light out of your bedroom, making sure that your circadian rhythms are properly fine-tuned, that you're going to bed on time and you're waking up at the same time. Having meaning and purpose in your life. Doing productive work, making sure that your work, if your work sucks and you don't like your job, then volunteer. Give back. When you see people that are homeless and having a hard time, give them $5. Give them some cash. Try to help your neighbor if they're having issues with something. These are ways that you can feel better. Eat healthier foods, have more stable blood sugar. Don't eat processed junk food. Okay. So it's a good way to think about this. Human contact, laughing, joy. Yes. Great comment there. All right. What else do we have, friends? Any other questions? Anne says, wow, getting your brain dependent on something is a terrifying idea. Absolutely is. Especially considering that there's plasticity associated with consumption of these chemical compounds. So we need to, be very mindful of that. Josh says, loving Jesus, serving others, there's a great start. Yeah, so faith, being religious practices, the connection and community created through those, very important. Yes, I am so distraught right now at how many people want to build the world around hugs. I have been a hugger since I was around 3. Well, I mean, it's cool that hugging, let's make hugging great again. People are wanting to hug each other, which is great. Okay, what are your thoughts on antipsychotics, or is there a difference between an antidepressant? Yeah, this is not an area that I'm super familiar with, antipsychotics and things like that. I'm not a psychiatrist, obviously. There are some benefits associated with psychedelics, microdosing and macrodosing psychedelics. I've experimented with these, with psychedelic mushrooms, with LSD. I've done a little DMT. These things can be very helpful, just a small amount. Now, of course, it's best if you work with a therapist and do guided MDMA journeys or guided psychedelic mushroom journeys, things like that. So it's important, but I would consider, especially if you're in having mental health challenges, suicidal ideation, relationship issues, trauma. Those are things where you can get some benefit from that, for sure. So definitely consider that. Friends, I just want to share this with you. I'm going to drop the article in the chat. Anne Anonymous says, microdosing was very overrated to me, but many seem to like it. Yeah, well, there are some people that believe that maybe you need a macrodose closer to 2 to 3 grams. And so this is another, some people are suggesting that maybe microdosing isn't the way. So, things to consider. Okay, Jason says, what are your thoughts on exercising before eating in the morning? Yeah, I'm a fan of that. If that, whatever you can do consistently, okay? Exercise, like eating, like pooping, like going to bed, needs to be consistent. You need to exercise roughly around the same time every day. Your body starts to anticipate this. It helps to entrain your body's circadian clock system and circadian rhythm. So try to exercise when you can consistently do it. So if the morning time is when it works for you, then just do that for sure. Simply Human has a great comment, about, hey, what do we do about depression? Get a pet, get a dog, get a cat, volunteer at a horse stable and get to know a horse. Yeah, these are all things that we can do. Get a massage, get some cupping. James says, have good old fashioned sex. People aren't having sex anymore. People have erectile dysfunction. They can't get it up, or they don't have a libido because they're drinking soda pop and vaping and watching porn, right? When you watch porn, that affects all sorts of different hormones, but namely vasopressin, and I think it also impacts oxytocin. So it causes erectile dysfunction and early premature ejaculation, guys. So don't watch porn. Stop, doing that. And yeah, have good old fashioned. Get a girlfriend, get a boyfriend, hug, have sex. That's way better for sustainably improving mood and mental states than, relying upon, medications that seemingly don't have a large body of data to show that they're even effective. Okay, Maria says she was having depression when she was taking steroids after having severe COVID. Yeah, so, dexamethasone and different steroids have been shown to impact mood and cause people to feel depressed. So it seems common. Okay, what about GABA? GABA, taking oral GABA, it may help like with feelings of anxiety and may help facilitate sleep. But again, this idea that we can drill down on one neurotransmitter, and that's the thing that we're going to fix. I think that's not really good thinking. Not really good thinking, but it can help with sleep for sure. Okay, rates of sex are dropping as rates of depression are skyrocketing. Well, we figured it out, boys. Yeah, well, I don't know that it's that simple. But, having a partner as opposed to just always hooking up with people. We know a lot of people aren't married. A lot of people don't have committed relationships. There's a lot of like polyamorous relationships or swinging and things like that. That's probably not the best for mental health. Thoughts on iodine drops? I'm a big fan. Roxanne, we've talked about iodine 100 million times on this podcast. In video, you can search iodine in the chat bar. In the search feature when you're on a desktop. Huge fan of iodine for sure. For all sorts of things. I take GABA if I can't calm down some nights. Definitely helps, but it's not a magic pill. Boom. And you are thinking along that same line. All right. I'm working with someone who took 200 milligrams of HCP for 4 years straight and is now suffering from severe serotonin syndrome. Yeah. So that's the other thing when you just overdo the precursors too, you can have some challenges. So yeah, hopefully you can help them, get back to feeling better. Okay. What are your thoughts on carnivore diet for energy and just getting best health possible? Aaron, I think a carnivore diet is a great way to have an even energy level. So you're not having these ups and downs and blood sugar crashes and feeling hypoglycemic and crashing after a meal and having food cravings. So yeah, I'm a big believer in that. Big believer in that. Yeah. So question came in as to how does porn affect vasopressin and oxytocin? Well, I don't know the physiology of that. There's some studies out there to show that, but it probably affects dopamine too and premature ejaculation. So don't do porn. I know it seems benign. You're just like, hey, I'm just watching people have sex on the internet. It's bad. Do not do porn. Porn is bad stuff. Okay. Do you think that melatonin at night as a sleep aid is increasing serotonin in the morning? I don't know. Maybe Jeffrey. I'm not sure on that. A little melatonin every now and again, probably not a big deal. Okay. Who should processed oils be sold? Why should processed oils be sold when we know they're poison? That's my gripe. Yeah. Why there's a lot of stuff that's terrible that's being sold. Don't support healthy foods that you know, that aren't made using those oils. Vote with your dollar. I think that's the best thing we can do, Roxanne, but great question. Any updated thoughts on berberine? Marco, I'm a huge fan of berberine. Our sister company, Myoscience, it's one of our top selling raw materials because it works. It straight up works. People notice it. You get results. We have the berberine fasting accelerator product. Check it out over at myoscience.com. It really works. Yes, read Dopamine Nation by Anna Lembke. Yeah, we've had Anna Lembke on the show. We talked about the Oxycontin crisis back in 2018. And I know she has her new book out, which is great. Have I tried CBD? Yeah, of course I've tried CBD. I think CBD has a role for some people, not for everyone, but broad spectrum cannabinoids, CBD, CBG, can be very helpful. Okay, I wonder if porn addiction is just a symptom of a bigger issue or the breakdown of communities and structures that facilitate relationships. Chahalik, I think is the URL. Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. It's bad stuff for sure, and yeah, a lot of people are consuming porn, which is bad. Okay. Wirehead says, but Mike, a doctor on the internet once said watching porn was great for prostate therapy. Yeah. Crazy, right? Okay. Thoughts on Bickles and Volcano desktop vaporizer? I'm not sure on all that. You're talking about like a lava lamp, a vaporizer for cannabis or for essential oils? For essential oils, I think it's fine. If you're going to do cannabis, probably a vape. You know, maybe a little bit better. Yeah. Okay. Is cocaine a good way to boost serotonin and dopamine? No, cocaine is not a good way, a sustainable way to boost serotonin. Yeah, it'll give you a massive surge of dopamine, but you're going to feel depressed after that. So don't do that. Ketamine for severe depression. Yeah. And trauma and PTSD. Ketamine can be very helpful. Okay, all. Well, what do you think of this show? If you're here right now and you enjoyed this, let me know. I just wanted to share this with you because this is hot. This is trending. And I think we should be aware of this book, Lost Connections, Yona Hari. Lost Connections, Yona Hari. It's a really good book. Definitely check it out. If you know someone who's struggling with mental health issues right now, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, bipolar disorder, all of that, check out Yona Hari's book. Also, check out our show sponsor for these lives, Good Idea. This is a drink, a carbonated water that has branched-chain amino acids and chromium. It tastes phenomenal. It can help support your blood sugar health, especially while you're eating or after a meal. Check it out. It tastes phenomenal. It's alcohol-free. And yeah, links are below. As always, thanks for being here. Thank you for hitting the like button. We will catch you on a future episode down the road. Have an awesome rest of your day. Bye now.